Lowry, can you give me an audio check?
Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, we're in the same room. Hopefully this is working. So I'm going to kind of check on my phone here for a second. Why don't you kind of let everybody know, of course, what we've got going tonight, and then we'll go to our countdown and do our thing.
Sure enough. Well, as you guys know, Tuesday nights is Bossier Watch night, and I can see there's already quite a few people that are fired up. Now, we're doing things a little bit different tonight. Tonight, we've got some gentlemen from that outpost called SOBO, and we're going to hear what they think about the future of Bossier and what each of their plans are. And, you know, we kind of described this as a debate, but I think it's more of just a roundtable discussion than really a debate. So we're going to let these guys kind of tell us how the cow ate the cabbage.
Sounds like a plan. All right, we're going to go to our countdown. Folks, y'all grab some popcorn, grab you something to drink. Might even need a stiff drink for tonight. Text a friend, tag a friend, all that kind of good stuff. We'll be back in about 2.5 minutes. All right, we are back and we are live, and thanks for the comments, everybody. Again, we've got a debate going on with the city council race, so if you want, go ahead and let your friends know that they need to tune in, especially if you're in District 1. But remember, the city council, what they do affects everybody, so even if you're not in District 1, still tag a friend.
So, all of the candidates have already been given all the rules before the start of the debate, and we also we drew straws, and the short straw was Mr. Hammons, and Mr. Lombardino, he got the long straw. So we're going to start the questions with Mr. Lombardino's first question. And for those of you watching, the way that we do these debates, we believe, Bossier Watch, as citizen journalists, we think that our elected officials and the folks running for office probably know the questions, most appropriate to whatever job that they're running for. So we ask the candidates to submit the questions, not us, them, and then we use their questions, to get their answers and to let you, the public, see what they believe, what they think, and hear their opinions. And we will take questions from the audience on live. It won't be all the questions, but we're going to try to work those in that are, fair and equitable questions. So, do you guys have any questions?
I don't think so.
No.
Rex, anything?
Oh, I'm good to go. This is pretty much your part of it. I'm going to try to keep things running without crashing so we don't get the text messages and the hate mail. So,
Now,
do it.
now, y'all all are going to understand that my wife is going to be happy tonight because I'm not eating Krispy Kreme donuts or something tonight. Okay, question number 1, and you'll get to answer first. Mr. Lombardino's first question is, he says, I'm committed to term limits and I commit to serving only 2 terms on the city council. Will the other gentleman here commit to the same here this evening?
Good question. I think that as you've been in business and you've done a job or you've had a role, that eventually at some point you've done everything that you can do to improve improve a company. So eventually there's going to be a time where someone needs to step away and then somebody new is going to need to come in with some fresh ideas. So I agree. I think that I could commit to 2 terms as being an ending for my city council run.
Oh, that quick? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, term limits. Term limits is it's a big story in South Bossier. Everybody wants term limits on everything. And I agree with term limits. I don't think anybody needs to serve in there 24, 30 years. This is a part-time job. It's not like Washington where people go up there and do it as a career. So yeah, I would agree to that. Term limits 2 years. I think you can get a lot accomplished in 8 years.
Mike, it was your question.
I was in it from the beginning. I was all about term limits. That's what you hear about a lot of times. They move in, they set in, and they're there. It's nothing for new ideas to come in, no room for anybody else to interject new ideas. We have a younger generation coming up. They're the ones taking over. We need to move aside for them. And if we can't accomplish something in 8 years, we're not going to accomplish much at all. That's my answer.
Darren, now this will be your first question. What is your plan to address the abandoned businesses in South Bossier?
That's a very good question, and that's a very big problem that we have, not only in South Bossier, but that South Bossier corridor, mainly down Barksdale Boulevard. It's a very big problem, which it all falls back on, starting with the Property Standards Division at City Hall, which they go out, write up their reports, turn it over to City Council. I think the process of the abandoned buildings, the process of how long it takes the City Council and Property Standards to move forward is a little bit long. If the property owners, they're not paying the taxes on them, they go to the sheriff's sale, which they're probably paying the taxes on them because they're not going to the sale, so somebody would buy them and they'd be rehabbing them, everything like that. So we have to work diligently to get those abandoned buildings either torn down, sell them to somebody else, get them rehabbed. In South Bossier, we're landlocked. We've got the river on one side and we've got Barksdale Air Force Base on the other, and then the city limit starts at Sligo Road. We still have land to develop, but you're going to have to start rehabbing these older buildings at some point in order to get new businesses into the area.
Mike?
As far as refurbishing the city in South Bossier, this has been a common problem for some time. It comes up quite often in conversation with most people you talk to. It goes back to Mr. DeMint when he used to say, when you drive through a city, you can tell the health of the city by its appearance. South Bossier's been neglected. How do we go after property owners that have allowed their properties to diminish in standard, bring down everybody else's standards? That's an issue that has to be directed. As for new business, That's something that has to be handled by the Chamber of Commerce. City government is to streamline the effort. The Chamber of Commerce is our face of our area, and we have a very strong Chamber of Commerce. We just got to make sure that we're providing them the equipment and tools to move us forward to address this issue. And that's my answer to that.
Darren?
I think that definitely the appearance of a town or a city is a big thing when people come through, or new businesses want to come through. If they see that it's run down, they're not going to want to put their new fancy shiny building in that area. So what we need to do is we need to find ways to make the buildings either usable, or we need to get the buildings out of there, tear them down. And, if we can repurpose the building, then great. That's something that we need to do. If we could work with maybe the SBA and maybe have a program set up that maybe helps some small business owner be able to learn what they need to do to start a business and maybe rent the place, fix it up. Maybe they get a discount some kind of way that way. There's bound to be plenty of ideas that we can put together to either repurpose or get rid of some of these abandoned buildings, because we want our town to look nice and shiny.
Okay. The first question is Brian's. What will you do to increase police presence in Bossier City? And Mike,
That would be me.
that would be you.
That's a very good one. I know that the acting stand-in police chief right now is moving personnel around. He's already made positions to do this, to put more people on the street. I know that in our South Bossier, the neighborhoods, they want to see the patrol cars in the neighborhoods. I will admit, since this has happened, and Chris has been there, there's more patrolmen up and down the neighborhood streets. This makes people feel comfortable. How you can move personnel around, how you can increase personnel on the street, that's something for him to look at and present to the city. The mayor's over the police department. Chris is the acting police chief. City council needs to make sure they have the funding, the tools to accomplish what we need to maintain the security in Bossier. And that's all of Bossier.
I agree. I think that definitely the mayor making the change that he did when he got in has increased some of the police presence in the neighborhoods. I also feel that that I can't say that I can speak to say what the police chief should do. I think that that's his expertise. That's what he knows. I think he can allocate his resources the way that the acting chief or what have you is going to allocate the resources the way that he's been taught or trained to do so. Do I think that South Bossier or all of Bossier needs to be safe? Absolutely. We absolutely need to be safe. People feel better when they can send their kids outside to play and not worry about something. Or you wake up the next morning and you read an article or see an article on Facebook, or even worse, you're in your said neighborhood's Facebook page and you see that somebody's tires got stolen or somebody's car door got opened up and something got stolen out of it. I think that there's other things that we can do, maybe kind of with the Parks and Rec department. We could put some programs together that keeps the kids busy, the youth that's busy. Whenever that's late at night and they're bored and they have nothing to do, so they go pull on car door handles. So there's plenty of things that we can do or programs we can implement that that may or may not already be started to begin with. I know that when I went to the NAACP meeting this past Saturday, the acting stand-in police representatives said there are several programs with churches that are out where the police come and they talk to the churches and they institute a program so that they can go and reach the youth and try to build that relationship with the police officers. So I think something like that is perfect.
Brian?
Well, first of all, the city council needs to work hand in hand with the mayor on this. And that all starts with, one, hiring new officers. In any kind of civil service or any kind of job, you've always got people retiring. Different times of the year, several people. The police department's a little bit different. When somebody retires, Say you have 5 people retire and you need to go hire 5 new officers. Those officers, not so much saying they're useless for the first year, but they are. By the time they go through the hiring process, they go through all of the interviews, all the psych evaluations, the physical test, and then they get hired. Well, then they have to wait for an academy to come available. That could be 2 or 3 months after they get hired. Then they go through the academy for 3 or 4 months. Then they go through an FTO program for 3 months, and then they go through a mini academy for a month. So they're a good year before they're on the street and serving the citizens of Bossier, where that would be an extra manpower on the street. I think we need to be more diligent in getting the people hired, maintaining that we have a full police force at all times, so when we do have people retire, that there is people already ready to stand in, and we've already got more ready to hit the academy, so we don't have that big lapse in manpower. Interim Chief Estes, he has done a fantastic job. I think at this point he's added 20% more people on the street with the changes that he has made within the department. So that is fantastic. We have a fantastic police force. There's always going to be crime. If anybody says that there's not going to be any crime, they're lying to you. You've always got somebody out there that's going to want something for free and somebody that's going to want to do something bad. I was at that same NAACP meeting with Darren, and you know, Assistant Chief McGee hit the nail on the head. If the citizens do not report what is going on and interact with the police can't do anything. They show up, people run, nobody says who they are. But I think we have to maintain the manpower there, constantly training, keep them on the street. That police presence is where it all starts.
Good answers, guys. All of y'all. Rex, that's the end of the first question. Is there a viable question from the internet?
Well, actually, yeah, relating to the police officer. Well, let me unmute myself here. Yeah, so actually there is relating to the police officer question. This is from Xandra Morris Ashley. One to recognize that name. Who pays for that, and do we have the dollars to just hire more officers?
Well, Mike, you had the long straw, so means you go first. Actually, you go first since he had the, so we'll go in that order.
Well, I would think that the taxpayers are going to have to pay for it. That's the only way that that's going to take place. With that being said, how do we pay for it? That's a big question. Basically, the way that it works is we have to generate more revenue. How do we generate more revenue? Well, we either raise taxes, which nobody's going to want, or we have to find ways to have businesses that have more sales so that we can generate more taxes. Or maybe we could do some budgeting and look at the budget and see if there's something that we can reallocate and move some money around, and then from there we might be able to find the money we need to put more cops on the street.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. And ultimately the taxpayers pay for it. There's federal grants out there too. A lot of bigger cities use it. They use federal grants to hire more officers when they have a lapse in the manpower. There's always federal money out there for everything. But we need more businesses. You always need more tax dollars coming in, because more tax dollars is the only way that taxes do not go up. If your tax revenue goes down, ultimately you're either going to have to lay people off, you're going to have to cut funding for other entities within the city, or you're going to have to find a way to make up for it. And nobody wants to raise taxes. I don't want to pay more taxes. I know you don't, nobody does. But there's always ways around it out there. You can always work a budget where something in the city is getting more money than it really needs to, and you need to move that money around. But that's what we need to work towards.
Mike?
Good question. Everybody wants to hire new police officers. Nobody wants to pay the taxes and the cost of it. City sales tax, property tax, that's what generates the largest revenue in the city. The liaison from the police department to the neighborhood watch committees. At one point in time, the neighborhood watch committees used to be pretty strong. They were encouraged. More and more people are having cameras installed on their homes. There are more and more cameras being installed on the streets. What we're finding, a lot of the crime that's coming in is from outside, coming to our area. Cutting that off, circumventing it, the police presence, what we have, moving around the neighborhoods in the evening, which they're trying to do. They can't stop all crime, but neighbors looking after neighbors and paying attention to the people next to you and the property next to you. I'm not spying on anyone. I have an interest in my neighborhood. The police are more than welcome to take those calls and field those calls, but without knowing, like it was stated earlier, they can't, they're helpless. They cannot do anything. Encouraging our community to be more involved with their own security, with the police, knowing the police are going to back them up and be there for them. That would be my answer.
That's good. Okay, so we will move to the second questions. And Darren, your second question was, what plan do you have for keeping the youth in Bossier? Brian?
Like keeping them here? Well, one, I mean, that's a very good question, and that's a very big problem. Somebody graduates here nowadays, 18 years old, they go off to college, they don't come back here. There's no reason for them to come back here. We don't have the jobs. We don't have really social stuff for them to do. Not like the big cities where they can go to Dallas, they can go to New Orleans, they can go to Lafayette, 3 hours south. So much more here. We have got to bring businesses in here that will keep our youth here, that will let them go off to Louisiana Tech or go to LSU. But after 4 years, come back here and make it your home. I've made it my home for 49 years, and I wouldn't change it. But I'm 49 years old. These kids are 21, 22, 23 years old. There's so much more out there outside of Bossier City for them to do. But that is something that we have to work with the Chamber of Commerce. We've got to work with the Office of Economic Development and provide that for here, to keep our youth here. Because if we don't start getting our youth coming back here, I mean, we're just going to continue just to, just float away, There's nothing here. Our kids aren't coming back here. They're not raising families here. And what does that do in turn? Your population starts to go down. Our population is getting older. Not saying my parents are getting older. Everybody's parents are getting older, but the kids that people are having nowadays, when they get to the age, they're going to college and they're not coming back here. So that is a very big problem that we have to work on.
Mike?
That is a good question. Having two middle-aged young boys myself, we worry about them leaving all the time. What is there to do here? If you don't hunt or fish or play golf, you're really at a loss for activities, constructive activities. Bringing industry here, using the Chamber of Commerce, using the MPC. We have Cyber Command here. We have the military base here. There are avenues to build other corporations to bring them here. The activities we need here need to be supported. It takes so many rooftops to bring something here. And as we're developing in South Bossier and North Bossier and getting these rooftops here, jobs will move to Bossier. They'll come where there's economical opportunities. This Cyber Command we have here is bigger than people really realize. It's huge. Using the base and incorporating the base a little bit more to bring other businesses in here. The partnership with the base. I don't know how many people speak to airmen. I speak to them all the time. I want to know the airmen in my neighborhood. I want them to remember this area when they leave, that they'll come back. Outdoor sports, high school sports, the local ability to college sports, and Northwestern State University in Natchitoches Sorry.
I forgot about that one.
I'm a Western graduate, you know, and I will mention them. But we have great universities in the area. These places could hub in here instead of us being picked off. And like you said, young children, young kids, they want excitement. Well, there are other things other than nightclubs. We just have to get an idea together to make this a viable community like that. Thank you.
There.
I think we're all in agreement that jobs would help keep the youth here. I mean, they'll run to Dallas a couple hours down the road, like you mentioned, Lafayette, so that they're able to go and get, you know, a pretty decent salary out of college. I mean, they got debt they got to pay, student loans they got to pay. In some cases, they got a family they got to start to raise. I myself, you know, I grew up in South Bossier. I went to Sun City, went to Elm Grove, Parkway, Curtis. And I brought my family back to go to live in that same area because I thought it was a great place to grow up. I agree. We definitely need businesses so that we can get jobs for these young people, for them to come back. But we also need something for them to do. I really enjoyed the balloon rally when it shifted to the CenturyLink. I think that was like a tremendous thing for Bossier. I mean, they had the balloon rally all the time at LSUS, but it was different having something like that at the Brookshire's Grocery Arena. It was different having it there. You know, it was exciting. It was something for the kids to do. I took my kids; their faces lit up. They loved it. So something like that would, you know, something similar to that more often would be great for the area, and it would help them want to keep their families here.
The next question, Brian's, what will you do to fix the roads in Bossier City? And Mike, you get the first answer.
Well, fixing roads comes under the state. I would want to work with the state authorities and make sure they're getting everything they need locally to make it easier for them. I know that particularly along Barksdale Boulevard, they're looking at putting more deceleration lanes and speeding lanes along Rossi Lee, Violet, to make it safer along there. They're thinking about putting lights, better lighting at Golden Meadows Drive, which they have brought lights in, and they're working on to improve that. That's a state. Most of these are state highways. The local roads are the neighborhood roads in the subdivisions, which I know that they're budgeting money to do a further extension on expanding, you know, the road construction, the sidewalk construction, bringing it back up to par. South Bossier's been left derelict for some time. I know that avenues have been made to improve that. I'm seeing it down there from the administration that's been in there. When these other road projects finish up, Shed Road, Swan Lake, more money will be available for that. As a city councilman, whoever's elected, they only have one vote. One vote. So they've got to work with other city council people to maintain and get the votes to make sure we get our portion of the budget in South Bossier. That's what I'm after. Unity with the council to get what we need.
Darren?
I'm sorry, Duke, I don't mean to interrupt, and that was my question, the streets in our neighborhoods, not so much the state highway roads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, your question was specifically, what will you
The
do
roads,
to fix
okay.
the roads in Bossier
Okay.
City? I don't think you
Yeah,
delineated.
that's fine.
I know
But
you
Darren-
understand.
Yeah, I didn't want to,
You
just wanted it to
understand
be
that.
fair to everybody,
We
no
all
problem.
understand this.
Yeah.
Darren?
I think that Mike's absolutely right. That we definitely got to work with the other council members so that we can secure the votes that is necessary for the funding. But I think we need to take it a step further. I think that several years ago, when the flood came and they opened up the dam and South Bossier got a whole lot of water over there, I remember going out with my son. He's 21 now. We went out and helped bag up sandbags because they had dropped some dirt out there for people to save their homes so they wouldn't get flooded. I think that, and keep in mind, since then, like it rained pretty heavy the other day in Gold Meadows. That's all I saw on the Facebook Golden Meadows page. All they talked about was how flooded the front of the neighborhood had gotten and things like that. We need to fix those issues, because if we can't fix those issues, we're going to constantly be throwing good money behind bad money to fix these roads. It'll just be it'll be a repetitive cycle that will be just bad. It'll be a bad way to spend money. So we need to fix the underlying issue first, and then once we fix the underlying issues, then we can focus on the roads, so that the roads will be sustainable for longer.
And thank you, Duke, for dropping that sand. When we had that flood, Duke called me and said, "Hey, where do you need sand out?" And I'm like, at Pampas and Sligo Road, drop as much as you want. So thank you. Everybody talks about the road issues where, we have the river on one side of us in South Bossier. It does go, the river follows all the way to North Bossier. The river is a big problem with everything. We have all of these floods. We have, if the river gets so high. Well, people don't understand, the river gets so high, well, it fills up with sand underneath it. So the water table stays higher. When the water table stays higher, the water table backs up further inland. It's washing out underneath these roads. It's washing out on Airline Drive. The big problem that they're having, it's at every city council meeting. What's going on with the lift station here? Why is it sinking? We've got a manhole that's sunk 30 feet down into the ground. A lot of that starts with the river. Until the Corps of Engineers comes in, Army Corps of Engineers, they need to come in and dredge. They need to get some of the sand out so our water table does go back down. City council members, both of y'all said it, and it's funny, we all say, yeah, we're one vote, and you've got to go beg for 3 more votes to get your 4 votes to get your budget that you want for your district. I think we need to be working, no matter where it is, in South Bossier, North Bossier, Central Bossier, these older subdivisions, the infrastructure is weakening. The infrastructure is older. We have to maintain and fix those first before we start going and fixing roads in a subdivision that is 3 years old. That all starts with those roads should have been put in properly when they built the subdivision, so the city is not already having to go in and spend money in a subdivision already that is only 3 years old. But we need to work with the state better. We need to fight for more money for North Louisiana. But I think, the council all working together and working with the administration, that we can accomplish this and get things fixed in a timely manner. And when we fix them, they need to be fixed right, so the taxpayers are not having to spend the money over and over again to go back and fix the same problem.
Rex, do you have a good question off of the?
Yeah, it's not Darren's wife, is it?
Actually, I don't think so.
Okay, all right. She's asking them hard questions.
Yeah. So there have been several comments about dollar stores on the feed so far, and not a specific question, so I kind of generated one off of that. So all we hear from South Bossier folks is more and more dollar stores, and that seems to be all that they're putting in there when you look at any of the social media groups and all that. How, as a city councilman, do you attract different businesses to South Bossier like we tend to see in North Bossier?
Darren?
I think that kind of the issue that we just talked about might help. If we get our road situation resolved, we could probably. Infrastructure is a big thing. If infrastructure is good, businesses see there's a path for business to take place. There's a path for people to get to their places of business. So I think that we need to fix our infrastructure to a point that it's attractive for bigger businesses to come in. We can talk to them. We can reach out to them. We can see if there's anybody that wants that has the funds to franchise or whatnot, something like that, and go that route. But I think ultimately big business will come in if we're able to fix our infrastructure. If there's a path that can get them to South Bossier, they'll put something there.
Brian?
First of all, dollar stores. I'll say this: if I'm elected, I would work with the MPC and I would put a moratorium on dollar stores for a while. We don't need any more. We've got plenty. We've got you covered from every name brand of dollar store within a 3-mile radius. We've got you covered in South Bossier. If one's out of it, North Bossier, come to South Bossier because we got it. Secondly, on attracting more businesses, we need to work with the chamber. We need to work with property standards. We have a lot of dilapidated buildings in South Bossier. We have a lot of dilapidated houses. We have a lot of ditches that need to be cut that are not maintained, and that all starts with property standards. If you dress up your area, it's going to look attractable. And when it's attractable, more businesses are coming in. So that's what we'd have to do. Everybody has to do their part in every little step along the way. You know, the Chamber of Commerce, I'm sure they get people all the time, hey, we're looking at bringing a business in there. You know, if they're looking at bringing a business in there, I think the Chamber of Commerce and the City Council needs to work, you know. Whoever is elected here, we can say, hey, you know, we got a perfect place that we think that would go fantastic down here in District 1. We all need to work together and achieve the common goal is to get more businesses and get more tax dollars in the city of Bossier.
Mike?
I'm fortunate enough to have owned and operated a business in South Bossier for 17 years. My family's owned businesses in Bossier. It takes rooftops. It takes disposable income. And as we develop South Bossier and get these rooftops, these businesses will make those decisions to come where the population's at, where the demographics are at, where the disposable income is at. You don't dictate to business. We just need to make it attractive. More traffic count. Now, that being said, do we want it to look like Airline Drive or Benton Road? Is that what we're looking for? Or we want an organized growth? I know people talk about bringing this, bringing that, bringing this. I understand the restaurant business a little bit. It would be nice, but you have to have people, and you have to have traffic count. That's going to take time. The roads, the city will work with the MPC, with the Chamber of Commerce. But as we develop these neighborhoods, we get more rooftops, attractive neighborhoods that's being done right now, right across from Golden Meadows. You probably know more about that than I, Brian.
Yeah, it's my development.
This is going, congratulations.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but it is. It's more rooftops.
Credit is due where credit
it's
is
more
deserved.
rooftops.
That will bring more people. Because Bossier, North Bossier's running out of places as well. We have a little bit of avenue here. Plus, what's going to happen? I travel up and down Sligo Road all the time, every day. There's a housing subdivision going at the other end. There's another huge housing subdivision going on 157. Mm-hmm. Those people go across that Jimmy Davis Bridge. When that bridge, they start working on that bridge, it's going to run more people up Barksdale Boulevard. And that's the reason it's so important for the state to get those deceleration lanes in, acceleration lanes in. And as that traffic count goes up and we get these streets cleaned up, clean some of these facials up, I don't know the legal ramifications behind that. If people are paying their property taxes and they're absentee owners, I don't know legally how you can go after them, but there's got to be a way to encourage them. Let's make this attractive in South Bossier. We've got all the tools. We just need the people down there. And as far as the streets and drainage, my house almost flooded as well. That's being addressed, I would think. Water flow is something I know a little bit about. I work in the oil field. I deal in water flow constantly. As we clean these ditches out, maybe look to something like getting cleaning crews to keep the ditches cleaned out. But when the reservoirs are full and it backs up, there's little alternative. The streets are doing what they're supposed to do. We use the streets for drainage. That's working. But if there is a blockage, which happens to debris, it backs up. Well, the danger in a blockage is, like on Hollyhock Avenue, the little children playing in that street. If that blockage breaks, just like happens in Oklahoma City, Houston, Texas, those little children will be in that vacuum. That's a fear of playing in the streets during backups of debris. We did it on Bobby Street when we lived on Bobby Street. Right there, right there at Airline. They started cleaning that ditch up, these culverts. These are things I think about from talking to the people I talk to in the neighborhood. Those are the things that affect our neighborhoods. These are the things they're concerned about. These are the things I wish to address. Thank you.
All right. The next question, Darren's, what does a sustainable future for our community look like? Brian?
It's a good question. I would hope that our future is bright, that we continue to grow, that we continue to get businesses in here. But that's all got to start with everybody working together and looking at that big picture and everybody going after the same goal. I don't think right now that that's what we're doing. I mean, we've got a casino sitting down at the end of Arthur A. Teague that is sitting there vacant. From what I understand, it's full of mold, everything like that. That it will never be opened back up. That's tax dollars that are gone that would come in here to the city. I would hope in the future that we don't have any more of those. I hope that another casino doesn't close down. I hope that any business doesn't close down in Bossier City. But as far as our future goes, I mean, nobody can predict the future, but I think we can all work towards the common goal of making it the brightest future for us, for Mike's children, for Darren's children. I don't have children. That the future, once we're gone from here, that it stays bright for them.
Mike?
Sustainable future is employment ability to get employed. Amazon's coming to town. That will bring people, and it'll probably bring some to Bossier that work there. Getting more familiar with the base, building our image in our community with the people that come in and out of that base. This used to be a paradise for retirees from the base. But as they started rotating in and out on a more regular basis at the base, it's hurt us a little bit. We need to garner with these young airmen, these young families, to get them to enjoy this place, to make it be a good memory to them of activities. I was a member of the Eagles for 25 years, which is a great organization on the base. And that was for young airmen, to get them back home. Getting to know these airmen, that's who's here. We got to garner to them a little bit more. It goes back to business, activity. It all hubs around the whole city and parish government working in cohorts, because whether we know it or not, I've been fortunate enough to live in a lot of other cities in a few other countries. And I've seen how those cities will target businesses. We've seen it here in Louisiana, in Monroe. Somehow or another, we've got to get on board with each other, present ourselves as a viable area, and seek them out. Target these companies. Get them to look at us. And I'm telling you, our Chamber of Commerce, I will put against any. And I'm all for supporting them in any way. I want our youth to stay here. I don't want it to be an eyesore. And that's every government agency, parish, school board, city council, you name it. Get our standards up. Thank you.
Darren?
Everything we've talked about is kind of built to this: future, family, and community. I think ultimately to sustain Bossier City, though, I've been SOBO all my life, there shouldn't be a designation. You shouldn't be able to tell the difference between North Bossier and South Bossier or K-Side. All of Bossier should be Bossier. When I work at Wiley College in Marshall, Texas. I drive there every day, and I see students from all over the world. There's students from out of the country that come. They come from California, come from Atlanta, come from Houston to go to school there. And I'll talk to these kids and I'll ask them, I'm like, where are you from? And then they'll ask me how I like living in Marshall. I say, I don't live in Marshall. I live in Bossier. I'll say South Bossier. They don't know what South Bossier is. I say, I live in Bossier. So I drive about an hour to come to work every day. It's a great place to live. Come visit sometime. But I think that ultimately that's what needs to happen, that we need to develop things like we talked about, the roads, the businesses, so that we can keep our youth here with jobs, so we can keep our families, those youth that have families, keep them here, and so they want to continue to bring their kids here and raise their families here. That we need Bossier to just be Bossier, and not, all of Bossier needs to be great.
Brian, this was one of your questions.
Okay.
What will you do to strengthen property standards in Bossier City? Mike, you get the first answer.
Beefing up the property standard division, giving them some help. I know they're utilized and they're being more utilized. I'm seeing them out more because apparently this is a problem that a lot of people are starting to recognize. I can't speak of North Bossier, most of it's new up there, but South Bossier over the years has been allowed to deteriorate, and we see it in our neighborhoods, Shady Grove, Con Park, Golden Meadows. We have a diverse group of people moving in. We have a high number of rental homes in there. And I see these homes and the people moving out and the way they leave the state, they leave these homes in. And it may be weeks before they're looked at, before they're gone to. I'm all for stronger neighborhood enforcement. You'll see it on my card. I want to maintain our property values in our neighborhoods, just as everybody does. You have a lot of people in Shady Grove that take pride in their homes. Well, you have those not so much. We have people, they want our security, they want our schools, they want the comfort and the ease of living in South Bossier. We need to incorporate them into our community of taking pride in their properties. That's how I see it.
Darren?
I don't know what legally is allowed. I know that people have to pay their property tax. I don't know if it's an option. Maybe it's something we could develop. Maybe it's some legislation we could put forward. Maybe we could do an assessment of the value, and if the value of a home has depreciated a certain amount on top of their property tax, they either have to forfeit that amount of money or reinvest that money in the home or the business so they can keep it up. I don't know if people don't want to pay that fee, but I think that if we don't hold people accountable, then they can continue to get away with not taking care of what they originally had purchased and keep it up, and it's just going to continue.
Brian?
I agree with Mike. It has to first start with our property standards division. I believe they have 4 property standards enforcement officers for all of Bossier City. You could put 4 officers in Shady Grove, Bel Air, Golden Meadows, and that they could ride up all day long. Just because we all reference to Shady Grove, they're older subdivisions, but you drive through Shady Grove, you have some of the most manicured lawns, you have some of the most upkept houses, and then right next door you have somebody that's got a broke down motorhome, 4 boats, and 5 broke down cars in their front yard. Well, all that does is destroy a property value. This person right here that has a fantastic yard or whatever, they decide they want to sell their house to move something else. Well, nobody wants to buy that house with that right next door. I think our property standard division, they need to work, I'm sure they do, they work hand in hand with our city attorney, but we need to be exploring every avenue possible when there is a property standard code violation on that house, we need to be doing everything possible to get it reconciled. Taking them to court, seizing the property. Last council meeting, they voted, they tore down 2 dilapidated properties. And I'm sure that was that was several month process and everything that they have to do, exploring, trying to find the owners of the property. Are there any owners still living? Do they owe taxes? What on the properties? But I think they're doing a good job. I think they're doing everything they can with what they have, but I think we could do better. I think that is one division at City Hall that does need more people.
You all answered the questions, right? Mike, you got your answer. Now, we have got, I was able to get it up and I'm watching here, and we have got like 1 million questions coming across. So,
Fire away.
are y'all agreeable to take more questions from online?
Sure. It's y'all show.
Rex?
Okay, so let's go back in time just a little bit. Let's see. There have been some great, would have been some great development had the UL Coleman deal been allowed. Drum roll, please. Here we go. And most of us kind of know that debacle and with the city council and all that. So who will dig in and get this project back in play?
And since you answered last, and you're up first.
That's up to the property owner. I know very little about it. I know where it's at. That's to the property owner in the city. I can't say anything more than that on it. I don't know if it's still in litigation or not. Until that's resolved, we're at a stalemate. And that's all can be said about that at this point.
Darren?
I agree, especially with it being sealed, and we don't know the details of what. Well, we know rumored details, but we don't know all the details of what went into that lawsuit. But I agree. I think that area definitely needs to be developed. I think it's a big portion of land that has a value to South Bossier that we could actually benefit from. So I agree that something needs to take place with it. And until we can find out details we can dig deeper and find out exactly what happened or what's holding it up, or if it's just as simple as property owner just needs to decide they want to do something with the land, then we have some conversations.
Brian?
Yeah, I agree with what both of you said. I would hope that all 3 of us sitting here, whoever gets elected to the council on October 9th, that will fight and do your due diligence and get the answers for the citizens of Bossier City. All 3 of us, all 5 of us sitting here, we pay city taxes, we pay parish taxes. I believe it is every citizen's right to know what is going on. We hear speculations, they paid out this many millions, they're still paying this many millions. The project would have been a multi-million-dollar venture that would have gone into South Bossier, and I think in construction in a multi-million-dollar venture, all the tax dollars that would have been appropriated from that. I'll go ahead and say it, I don't think the citizens are getting the whole story. I think we deserved the whole story because it is our tax dollars that they're wasting away, that you're wasting on lawsuits, no matter what it's for. Everybody hears speculation, there's a gag order on this, there's a gag order on that. Oh, we can't talk about this, we can only talk about it behind closed doors. Well, when you're dealing with citizens' money, there is no behind doors talking. You need to talk to the citizens, you need to tell them what is going on, why they made the decisions that they did, and the citizens need to have a voice in that, because you're making a decision about our money. It's not their money, it's not the council's money, it is our money. And that is my stance on that.
So I'm not sure if, as a councilman, if any of you were elected as a councilman, but kind of based on what I'm hearing from you guys, that if in your capacity as a councilman, you know, you could support a motion or something to disclose what, you know, is, I guess, shielded from the public view, you would support that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That has to go before the city attorney, before you can say anything on any of this. Or we
But as a
would-
councilman,
we would have
if-
known before.
If you had a wand you could wave, would you allow the city to be able
I'm
to see
not
it?
on the city council at this point. It was something I'll pursue and delve into, just as Brian said. That's a prime area.
I would love to have the land.
I'd be amiss to say something. That would be speculation. It'd be unfair to the citizens. to say.
But I'm just saying that if you were a councilman, you know, would you, if you could, because I don't know that you could, I really don't.
I don't either.
But I'm just saying that if you hypothetically could, do you feel like the citizens of Bossier deserve to be able to see the whole case, everything that transpired?
I think if it could have, it would have by now. There's more to this, as Brian says, than we know. I can't speak on something I don't know anything about. I can speak on flooded streets, street lights out, dogs running loose, property standards. I can speak on landlords who let their property go defunct and overload our garbage system. That's what I can speak on. That's what I'll go after.
And I will take a moment of personal privilege to the flood where you came down there to haul sandbags. I mean, there was credit not given to somebody that was there that day. John Dalton Griffin came with me and worked that day, and Rex participated as well, hauling sand down there that day. So we definitely don't want to leave those guys
Sorry,
out.
Rex. I didn't mean to not give you credit.
Not a problem at
But
all.
nobody's seeking credit. Rex, we got another one?
Oh yeah, there's plenty. So this will be another good one. This is from our good friend Mike Collier. It's kind of a two-part question, so but they're related. So there is a war going on between the mayor and the council. I think that's kind of obvious to everybody. As a city councilman, how are you going to make a difference? And what would you do to get Shane confirmed as CAO, assuming the mayor continues to want him to be CAO?
Darren, since Mike started first last time, we'll go to you.
I'm sorry, Mike.
I think that some healing needs to take place on the council. There's the mayor, in my opinion, should have the ability to pick the people that he wants to work with. He was elected mayor, so it should be his decision on who he wants to put forth to be voted on. I think that moving forward, a cultural change needs to happen on the council, because let's go beyond the council and just the mayor and the whole situation with Shane. Moving forward, all the things we've talked about today won't happen if the council doesn't work together. So that change needs to happen regardless to who the mayor decides he wants to put up as the CAO or whatnot moving forward. So I can't speak to if, you know, because I don't know what the mayor's mindset is now, or Shane's mindset now moving forward. Are they almost 60 days in or something like that? I don't know what their decisions are as far as moving forward with the stalemate. And I'm not privy to what goes on behind closed doors either. You know, so I don't know what all they have going on, but I would think that ultimately, regardless, the council needs to work together for the better of Bossier.
Brian?
Yeah. The mayor needs, the mayor was elected. The mayor has positions that he appoints and ultimately has to go and get confirmed in front of the city council. The CAO topic is a huge topic. If I'm elected to the city council and it's brought up again and there's a motion, I would give it a second. Shane Cheatham deserves to be able to get up there to that podium and at least have those council members ask him questions. It's from my understanding, he's been in meetings with them, he's been interviewed with them. There's nothing in the city charter that says that he is not qualified to do that position. The city charter really doesn't lay out qualifications for a CAO. I think the city council, no matter who the mayor is, if it's Tommy Chandler, if it's John Doe down the road, the city council needs to work with the mayor. Everybody needs to work together for the betterment of Bossier City, because every decision that we make is for Bossier City. And the animosity back and forth, I don't know if we all need a group hug or what, and sing kumbaya a little bit, but I think he deserves that, to be able to come in front of the council and have constituents that want to come up and speak on his behalf. I think he has earned that right as a citizen of Bossier City, and somebody that has been put up for that position by the mayor. He won. He's the mayor. The mayor deserves that right. And I think we all need to move on with that. You're either going to give him his time, let him get up there to the mic, and you get a motion in a second. You're either going to vote and confirm him, or you're not going to vote, or you're going to turn him down. But I think that's what needs to happen. I think the mayor needs that. I think Shane needs that. But like Darren said, we're going on 60 days, and the mayor does not have a CAO. He has put someone up for that, and I think they both deserve that right. I think the council needs to give the mayor that much respect and give him that ability to move forward and try to get somebody in that position that he feels comfortable working with, and also that the mayor feels like that he's going to do a great job, or he wouldn't put him up for that position. And that's my stance on that.
Mike?
The mayor has a responsibility to put someone up. The city council has the responsibility to vet who is put forward. That's where that stands. The city council has chosen another avenue. He deserves a vote up or down. I understand. I don't know the fellow. I don't know him that well. I know him enough to say hello. I don't know anything about him. I'm not on the council. I'll make that decision, and I'm sure we will make it, whoever's elected, to look at his background, his education, his experience, and base their decision on that. That's how I see it. I have hired people, and I have terminated people, and it's a very difficult decision. And we have a lot at stake here for Bossier right now. That's all I can say about it.
Rex, do you have another one?
Well, I've got one more. Unmute myself. I keep forgetting to unmute myself here to keep the echo down. So I've got one more that pretty much I was going to ask about anyway, but our mysterious Mark Smith character has asked it. So Bubba Don is in the crossfire of a recall effort that I'm sure y'all are probably aware of. Do you support the recall or not? And what are your thoughts on it?
I think we started with you, right? Mm-hmm. So, Brian?
I can pass. No, I'm just kidding.
You can pass, but I don't think your opponents are going to give you a pass.
The recall of Bubba Don Williams, yeah, you hear about it. It's not in my district. It's not in District 1. What I'm mainly concerned about, I'm concerned about District 1. I'm concerned about what we need in District 1. The constituents in, I guess Bubba Don is District 3. Yes. Yeah, District 3, because we skip a district. District 3, that's their right. If those constituents there want to have a recall on someone that they elected, which I think he ran unopposed, so nobody ran against him, that's their right. I don't really have much to say on that. When any of us here are elected, we have to go in there, we have to work with that council. We can't go in there and be on an island by ourselves. You will never get anything done in your district. You'll never get, like Mike said, we're one vote. We need 3 more to get anything done in our district, to get anything passed. So, that's their right. One of us may get elected to District 1 and they want to do a recall on us. But, that's their right. That's pretty much all I've got to say about that.
Mike?
I'm in District 1. That's another district.
Yeah.
That's their issue. I just don't want the flack to fall on District 1 as if we instigated that or we were behind that. I don't know.
I don't either.
Let them battle it out. I've got to get along with other council members. I want to be able to get in their door and before them to present our case for South Bossier and then for Bossier as a unity. We have a very good, I think, at-large councilman to support us and to help. We've got a balance. We just got to work the balance out between north and south and get this thing harmonized. This is animosity, and animosity is not good for a city because at some point in time, it's going to affect our insurance rating as a city or as a business. If I'm an outsider looking in and I'm looking for a place to relocate my 50 employees, my 25, and I look at what's going on now, wait a minute. How, I've got no continuity there. We've got to harmonize with each other. Brian said it, Darren said it. We're one part of a big puzzle, and we've got to come together and come together quickly. Thank you.
Darren?
I'm not going to offer anything different than what's already been said. District 1 is the district I'm trying to represent, citizens I'm trying to represent, and that's Bubba Don's problem.
Rex?
One last easy question.
Well,
Sure.
I've got one that we would be neglectful if we didn't ask.
All right, well, I'll fire mine off and then go to you. Okay, so who has what endorsements, whether it's existing city council members or other government officials? Anybody have any endorsements?
Yeah, I do.
Y'all don't have to reveal them if you don't want, but
I don't mind. I mean, they're going to come out anyway. It doesn't matter to me.
okay, let's see. Well, you went first last time, so
I can go first. They're on my push card. They're on my mail outs. There's no secret. Scotty Henderson, Lynn Austin, Judy Crownover, all prominent citizens of Bossier. I have others from business leaders that I've worked with. Hugh Magoo, who I've worked with for 30 years, Vice President of North America for Newport Drilling Fluids. Patrick Fife, Vice President for Falcon Energy out of Dallas, Texas. Mike Morgenthaler, owner of Cut Point Energy out of Houston, Texas. I've worked in a lot of cities and a lot of towns over the last 40 years. I've created and developed a lot of relationships with a varied background of people. And I'm proud of it. And I'm going to do my utmost not to insult them, not to embarrass my family, or hurt South Bossier or Bossier. Thank you.
I know I have the endorsement of my family. Xandra Morris Ashley, she's definitely in my corner. My kids, they're definitely in my corner. Now, with that being said, to me, really, just the citizens of South Bossier is what they care about is what matters. So, I don't need any, I guess you could say, big name endorsements. If you say, whatever the citizens want, citizens will get.
Brian?
I've got Mayor Chandler. I've got Shane Cheatham is endorsing me. Chris Smith, current city councilman. Dennis Manberg, Bossier City School Board. I've got the Louisiana Law Enforcement Association and the Bossier City Police Union. It's no secret to anyone, I was a police reserve officer for 6 years. So I've got a close tie there. I know the inner workings and what they need. But I agree with Darren. Everybody could throw out endorsements all day long, but it ultimately comes down to, what the citizens want, what they believe in, and what they think the other person that they elect is going to do. And yeah, I've got my wife. We put all of our wives through enough with what we're doing. But it ultimately boils down to the citizens, like Darren said.
Well, anybody that puts themselves up for public service and in political races, I mean, you deserve a little bit of a hat tip. Now what you do afterwards determines whether or not you deserve to have that hat knocked off your head. But that's kind of why we do what we do. Now, we would be remiss. There is one more question that we have to ask, and we would not be doing our service to the community if we didn't ask this question. And pertaining to endorsements, you all said that you all agreed with term limits. I mean, there was no dispute between that. I mean, and you got to admit, a lot of our local level officials, I mean, they've been in there a long time, 20, 30 years, they've been in a long time. But in particular, I know a lot of people want to know from you guys, have you, any of you, received the endorsement of David Montgomery, sought the endorsement, or has, he supported you? That's what they want to know. So I think it's your turn to go first.
My turn to go first. No, I have not heard from David Montgomery at all, or any other council member, for that matter. I think that ultimately our citizens are going to determine who's going to come up and represent them. But as far as the council, whoever gets put up there, the council's going to have to work with, regardless, whether they endorse them or whether they don't endorse them. And I don't know who they want. I don't know if obviously they wanted Scott Irwin whenever, whenever we went up and tried to put our hat in the ring to see if we can get the interim spot. But, they got who they wanted in that scenario, and I haven't heard one thing different any other way.
No, I do not, and have not heard from him. I'm just kind of like Darren said. I think if he wanted either one of us, that we may be sitting there in that seat as the appointed appointment for District 1 right now. And but ultimately, I know David Montgomery is the big, he's the big name. I think that day that we all went up for the appointment, the decision was already made before we even got there. I think they were just kind enough to let me and Darren and Lee Jeter, I think they were kind enough to let us have our 3 minutes up there at the podium, and their decision was already made. So, but no, do not have that endorsement.
Mike?
That's an easy one. No.
Well, we will wrap this up, Rex, unless there's anything earth-shattering beyond that. We know that that's the hot topics that everybody kind of wants to know. And in closing, we said we were going to give each of you guys an opportunity to ask any question. That was part of our little rules, that you could ask any one candidate individually a question that you wanted to ask them, and we can have that question and answer dialogue if you guys want to. If you guys have had enough, we can do that too. But there's a lot of folks watching. They're loving it. They're appreciating what you guys are saying. I mean, the commentary there, it's a lot of positive. Very little negative, I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah,
I don't have a question that I don't think any question that we had our questions. I don't have a question with them. I think the questions, the viable questions are from the citizens. That's who ultimately we're going to serve. They may have questions. I don't though.
Okay.
I don't feel that's right.
I'm in agreement. I think that everybody here put forth, honest answers to all the questions that were asked, to the best of their ability. And, what we know, and what we don't know, we don't know. And I think everybody here cares about South Bossier and wants to see the city thrive.
Mike?
I have no questions. I know that South Bossier will be well served with whoever is elected.
I'm in agreement.
I would agree with that as well. Rex?
Yeah, and I'll just close out. We had a comment from Dennis Bamberg. He said, 3 great gentlemen that could possibly represent District 1. Proud that we have interest in keeping Bossier City great. Good luck to all. And I agree with that. Good luck to all 3 of you. And thanks for participating in our little debate tonight.
Thank y'all for having us.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
All right, Duke, I'm going to close this out of here, folks.
We're gonna
We
know
appreciate
each
y'all
other,
watching
no
and
matter how
asking
this
questions
turns
and
out.
commenting.
That's right.
We'll make sure and
thank you.
get all the candidates to double check these comments on Facebook and see if we can get them to reply directly to y'all here in the next couple of days. And we're out of here.